there's probably a lot of you who would like to say something about Gordon, but with a limited time. But we are going to ask Don Anderson to come. Don has known Gordon for many, many years back in Africa, so I'll let Don tell a little bit his contact with Gordon.
At the University of Zambia in Lusaka, 1973 to 75, where I chaired the physics department, I had a brand new flight instructor's rating, both for the U.S. and Zambia. And one of my flight students, which I wasn't working as a flight instructor, but it's fun to teach. One of my flight students learned that the AEF, Africa Evangelical Fellowship, had a Cessna 182 for sale. So on Saturday, August 25th, 1973, he and I drove out to a bush airstrip at Kaindu Mission in central Zambia. There's a map on your table with the point of where that is. Now there I met Gordon Baki. Please excuse my soprano voice. I just had 6 chemos and learned that I, like Elaine, am a winner, a survivor of lymphoma cancer. And I chose to celebrate by coming here. I just learned yesterday. Well, there I met Gordon Baki at Kaindu airstrip in the bush. And I learned that not long ago he had just returned from a home furlough where he had worked at an FBO in Bellingham, where I had my Comanche 180 annualed. And I asked about it, he says, "Is that the blue one where we added a camera hole?" Yikes, yes! Gordon had done the annual on my airplane without me knowing it. And I run into him at Kaindu. It's a small world. The world of light plane pilots used to help spread the gospel is a small world with lots of responsibility. On Labor Day, Gordon brought that 182. That's Niner, Juliet, Romeo, Foxtrot, Foxtrot. He probably remembers it. He brought it to the Lusaka City Airport and checked me out in it. And one of my flight students bought it. I had the use of it on several occasions. And in the 43 years since I met Gordon out there in central Zambia, Gordon and I have shared the usage of quite a few airplanes, ranging from a Citabria to a turbo Cessna 206 with the full Robertson and the speed kit. You really get to know a person if you share an airplane, especially with one you can't afford. So I can say with confidence that Gordon Baki, besides being a top-rated pilot and an AI mechanic, he has a heart of gold dedicated to the service of Christ. Service that is both knowledgeable and highly professional. In short, whether as a working mechanic assisting in a repair or as an executive director, Gordon exemplifies in person the servant leader, a true friend whose friendships have enriched my life and yours and many, many others. So we thank Gordon for his leadership, working together with Gary Elliott and others who have brought both direct experience and dedicated performance in building MATA into the highly effective organization that it has become. And you folks all had a part in that. And we offer prayers for God's continued blessing on Gordon and Elaine and on those of you who now carry on the productive work of MATA. God bless us.
We have a brief video from Paul Nash. You want to be here? He's the head of the Home Mission Board for the Free Lutheran Church. He couldn't be here in person. He's in Minnesota's office, and so he sent a brief video greeting for Gordon. You just have to use your imagination, Gordon. You know Paul well enough. You probably have an idea what he would have said. Sorry about that. Gordon, if you'd come up, please. We'd like to thank Gordon for his years of service, providing the necessary leadership, as Don pointed out, keeping the ministry going and guiding as God has allowed this period of growth and expansion in ministry. So on behalf of the Board of Directors, the staff, and students, I'd like to present you this plaque as just a token of appreciation and remembrance for you.
Thank you. Actually, I should have done is set it down on the floor and thank you with both hands. That's the way we do it, right, Emma? You never just greet people with one hand, it's true. Well, I want to introduce somebody. You heard that Emma was born in McKinley Hospital. Our daughter Sarah Knudsen was born at McKinley Hospital. Stand up, Sarah. So, Sarah is my African American. Just like Emma was born in McKinley, Sarah was born in McKinley. And Sarah's brother Greg was also born in McKinley. Emma's dad had a little tea room right behind the hospital and also a small shop at Kasempa, which is called a boma. That's the Swahili word for government center. So you have bomas all over the areas. That's former British colonies. They use that word, boma. And so Emma's dad was a very good friend of mine. In fact, he bought a couple of vehicles from me. When I finished using them, her dad bought them, and he kept them going for several more years. You go into her house, where she was raised, and her mother was a meticulous housekeeper. The floor was polished with, I forget if it was either red or green polish, and the chairs in the living room all had doilies on the thing so you couldn't wear out the fabric. And her dad's and mom were wonderful people, but also very neat. And it's so neat to see Emma. I haven't seen her for so many years, but it's great. Now, I also want to acknowledge some other people. Luann New Ford was a teacher at McKinley Girls Secondary School. Stand up, Luann. And Gary and Pat Byers were at McKinley Hospital along with us. They were our next door neighbors at McKinley. They live in Marysville, Luann and Everett, for Snohomish. And then Keith and Cindy Frew back there. They were both born in Africa. but they were with our mission. They were at the Bible school, 105 miles to drive, a half-hour flight. They live up in Abbotsford, across the line now. And then you've heard a lot about Keiko. That's been a big part of my life since 2002. But there's a lady here, Debbie Holland, whose mother is Vera Pence. And Vera is pushing 90 or maybe over 90. Still at Keiko, helps with the books. Her late husband, Dave, passed away. But Debbie's dad died in Prince William Sound in the middle of 50s. And to hear her mom tell that story, she's told it in our Sunday school class. And by the way, our Sunday school class, they brought down 2 vans from Emmanuel Baptist in Mount Vernon to be here. So we got people all over this room. And I got cousins here, I got brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws. So it's great to see you all. But Debbie's mom, when you hear her tell that story, and Debbie was about 2.5, 3 years old, they were in a small boat in Prince William Sound in the wintertime storm. Their boat quit. Her dad went in a skiff to get help, and the boat drifted up in the rocks, smashed up. Her mom got her and a native boy that was with him and her little baby brother, and they got up into just in the tree line, but it was so cold. Her baby brother died in her mother's arms before help could come. They'd never found their dad. They found the skiff somewhere down in Prince William Sound. Some of you have been there on a cruise ship. But anyhow, in the wintertime in a storm, it's brutal. So the Lord brought me to Keiko and a chance to work in the villages with the kids. And you know, in Africa, the native religion is animism. And in Alaska, it's the same thing. They have the shaman in Alaska, they have the witch doctor in Africa, but the hearts of the people, and that's why we do this. That's why Ian's going out. That's why those of you who are pastors here, we have lots of pastors, we have lots of people who have been teaching Sunday school. The need is the same. People need to know Jesus, and that's why we're doing this. And I'm so glad to see you all, to say thank you to you. I know I've missed somebody, but you talked about that letter from MEF, I appreciate that. But the Canadian MEF has a fellow named Phil Henderson flying in Chad, and he's flying there because as a little kid, he rode to school with Uncle Gordy in his Cessna 185. Yeah, the 185 for a guy my size, and I was even lighter then. I am now. It's a lot of work. And sometimes I'd be flying at 8 hours, taking kids to school. I mean, that's 8 hours flying time, plus all the loading, fueling, all that other stuff.